What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and continue learning about things the UK does better than the USA. Part 2. If you haven't seen Part 1, feel free to go check that out or stay right here. I started kinda skeptical about this whole thing. Video about what the UK does better than the USA. I don't know about all that. I did, but the more I watched, like in part 1, some of these topics, cider, butter in the UK, culture, little controversial, but culture in the UK, better than in the USA, possibly. Irony, home decor, even. Lots of interesting stuff so far, and I'm coming around. I gotta admit, there's a lot of good points in this video so far about a lot of things that the UK actually does better than America. So it's been quite eye-opening, quite interesting, so I'm excited to continue this little series here. So let's take a look.
Something else I think the UK does way better, and I'm sure all of you guys will agree with us, is dark humor.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about in the States, but we just cannot.
Yeah. Dark humor. Yeah. Humor in general. I mean, British humor. It has its own name. It's its own category. Its own thing. It can't be replicated. Dark humor is a huge part of it, so this one might be irrefutable as well.
Pull it off the same way.
A lot of American dark humor comics still haven't figured out how to do funny
And dark at the same time. Need to get down the art of
Right,
scrolling.
right, because it is like, by definition, it's dark, and it's tough to make that funny. Brits do an amazing job at it.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
I just thought of another one. Names.
City names?
No, people names. People names, of course. There has been a recent trend in the States of naming your children names that are not names. And personally, I think that in the UK, parents do a little bit better of a job at naming their children a name that will get them respect.
Okay, names, wow. I mean, it is cool, like, how, depending on where you are in the world, there are vastly different names. There are very, very, like, UK, very British names. Honestly, I'm gonna Google this. What are the most popular UK names? What do we got here? Olivia, Noah. What's the most common name? George, Arthur. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a bit of a generalization, but from my point of view as an American, people in the UK have very, like, standard, like, have stood the test of time names. Bill, Noah, stuff like that. John. Whereas in America, it's very trendy, especially now. They were saying to name your child after things that exist, but it's basically just this overall trend of trying to make your name very, very, very unique without, like, as close to the edge of the line as you can get without being absurd sounding, but very unique, like no one has your name, basically. So yeah, this is definitely true. I don't know which is better. I like unique names, but I also like classic names, so.
Rather than laughed at. I've heard of people naming their child Talon or Arrow or Fox.
Even worse, Legend. How is that kid ever going to introduce himself in a job interview?
Hi, my
Legend. His name Legend. Maybe that'll get him the job. He's Legend.
name is Legend, and I'm an asshole. All that to say, I much more approve of the baby names that are popular in the UK. Jeffrey, Oliver, Thomas, Jack.
Exactly. These names like Jack, Thomas, Jeff, Bill, these are, it's almost like come full circle where in America, those kind of classic, more British UK names are getting so uncommon now that eventually those are going to become popular again because they're going to be the names that aren't used very much. So it all kind of goes full circle, huh?
John,
Richard.
Lucy, Elizabeth
The second.
If there's actually been a trend, though, of millennial British parents naming their children non-names, let us know, because we haven't seen that yet.
Another thing that I would add to the list would be accents.
Yes, I would have to agree, just because the level of diversity of accents and
Oh, okay. I was wondering, like, are we trying to say that the accents in the UK are better than the accents in America? But really what they're trying to say here is there's just such a huge diversity of accents in the UK. There's so many. So it's like just through sheer quantity alone and diversity, it kind of wins on that front. So I get it.
dialects in the UK is far greater, and also I just find it way more intriguing. Like, we only have a few distinct accents here in the States, and
Yeah.
some of them aren't great.
Another thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because as an American, I think any accent that is not American sounds awesome, amazing, interesting. There's a stereotype of basically all British accents. If you come to America with your British accent, people are going to be like, that is amazing. You must be so sophisticated, so incredible, intelligent, so worldly, just by having a British accent. So Americans are definitely huge fans of it. I guess I don't really know what people in the UK think about the American accent. I have heard that because in the UK, people get exposed to a lot of American movies and shows and media that you're kind of used to the American accent. It's not very interesting or new. Whereas in America, we don't get exposed to accents from the UK very often. So it's very fresh and interesting to us. So that whole thing has to do with it as well. That's real interesting.
Which elevates the UK in terms of accents above the US, is British people have the ability to talk with two accents.
Huh?
Most British people I've met have two accents.
What?
Like when you talk to an American,
What?
they only have one accent. They talk and that's what you get. But in the UK, people
What?
have two accents. They have their native accent from where they were born, and then they have their professional RP accent, for lack of...
Wait, what? What? How have I never heard of this? Is this a real thing? This is like unbelievable to me. How have I gone my whole life and never heard this? Is this true? Two accents? Like you switch between them? Wouldn't that feel unnatural or difficult to try to talk in a whole different way? Depending on if you're at work or not? Or can I Google this? Like, can I verify this? People in the UK, two accents? Can I even Google this? What are the two British accents? No, this has like a bunch. Huh? Can you have two accents? You surely can. No, this isn't talking about work though. Really? I guess I'm just gonna have to trust them on this one. I've never heard of this. This is amazing, if that's true.
From where they were born, and then they have their professional RP accent, for lack of a better word, kind of RP-ish.
You need to fix this problem. On that note, let us talk about the next thing that the UK does better than the USA, which is cheese.
Cheese. We're going from names to accents to cheese. Cheese. Is cheese better in the UK than America? Probably. I don't consider America to have a incredible cheese culture. All our cheese is pretty processed and packaged and very predictable. And when you want good cheese in America, you almost always are talking about something you get from somewhere else in the world. So, yeah, I think I won't even try to defend this one. The UK definitely does cheese better than America. That's fine. It's true.
All right, make your case.
My case is this. The UK has better cheese than the USA. Full stop.
The jury has heard your argument, and we find you guilty of being correct.
It's not necessarily that in the UK you have more? Because in the US, we do have a fair amount of different types
Yeah,
of cheese.
we get a lot of cheese. It's not like we get a lot of comments about how Americans and their cheese in a can. But honestly, I have never in my life seen anyone own cheese in a can or
Oh, yeah. Cheese in a can. Oh, like spray cheese? Oh, no. No. That's like in movies and stuff. Oh my gosh. I guess some people out there own spray cheese. Cheese in a can. I forgot about that. That's not a common American occurrence. It's kind of disgusting actually to think about. But I don't know. Like you can get cheeses at the grocery store. They're not terribly fascinating. So, yeah, I don't think America does too great on the cheese.
eat cheese out of a can. Wait, did you?
I mean, I never ate it, but it was in the fridge.
Oh my gosh, for shame.
So, some Americans sometimes own cheese in a can.
But it's not common. It's not as common as you guys would think. You can find the nice stuff. Like, it's not like the UK has a monopoly on blue Roquefort cheese. You just have to go to special stores, usually things like Whole Food, Trader Joe's, expensive stores.
Posh stores. Another
I guess that's true. Like, you can get some interesting cheese. It's going to be very expensive, but you gotta really go out of your way to get it in America. You gotta go to some kind of specialty store or something. So I guess I don't know for sure what the cheese situation in the UK is like. It's just always come across to me as better.
thing that I think the UK does better than the USA is travel. Maybe it's just like your guys' proximity to the rest of Europe that makes traveling more accessible or easier.
Travel is better in the UK than the USA. I mean, in the part one, we talked about public transportation. Much better in the UK. Mostly because public transportation in America is so terrible, so everyone's probably beating us on that. But travel in general is better in the UK in what way, I guess, is what I wonder.
To the rest of Europe that makes traveling more accessible or easier, but I generally think that more British people travel than Americans.
I think I'm actually going to push back on this one. I know that it is really common to say that British people travel more than Americans do, because more British people do on a passport. But I think this statistic is unfair to Americans, and that the USA is about the size of 1,000 UKs.
I was just about to say, I'm positive that people in the UK own more passports, travel to much more international places, other countries. In America, it's pretty rare for someone to travel outside of the United States. And I mean, it is kind of interesting. The states are so different and so big. You can really do most of your traveling just to other states in America and have a pretty good time and feel like you're really traveling somewhere. It's interesting. And like he's saying, the UK is 1/40th the size of America. So Americans are definitely traveling a lot. We're just traveling a lot within America. So I'm kind of jealous in a way of the situation in the UK, because you definitely can travel. It's so much more common and easy and commonplace to travel around Europe, which I'm very jealous of, that whole situation. I can't even imagine.
I feel Americans do travel a lot. It's just within the state. Like your family, every year goes on holiday, but it's just within the states.
Yeah.
They would not be frequent travelers, but they do drive 9 hours to get to their holiday. And that would...
Yeah, you can drive 20 hours across the United States. Like you can go on a real journey. It feels like a real vacation. Yeah, that's definitely very common.
Be like the equivalent of driving from London past Paris.
Yeah, that's true. These statistics are, I think, a little bit skewed, you're right. But more British people do travel internationally.
Yeah.
So I will stand by my word that I think British people travel more than Americans.
Yeah, I mean, not many Americans travel internationally. And I think that makes sense because we're not by everything necessarily. We're by Canada, we're by Mexico, some other stuff, but it's not quite the same situation in terms of how easy it is to travel internationally, that is.
Another topic which we've talked about in the past and we disagree on, but I think we're actually on opposite sides as the travel one, is chocolate. When it comes to chocolate, I think that the UK's chocolate is better than American chocolate. But
oh, wow. I've heard about stuff like this, like chocolate outside of America tastes different. I haven't had much experience confirming or denying these claims. I believe chocolate in America is created very particularly, specifically for an American audience. Like, it has way more sugar or corn syrup in its creation. It's much sweeter, like a much more punchy taste for our little American taste buds that have been desensitized by all the chocolate we eat. So I wonder if chocolate from other places around the world would be not satisfying to me, or if they would just taste completely different. It's just a really fascinating question. If it's better, is chocolate better in the UK or different?
But specifically, cheap chocolate. Like, I'm not talking about top tier, because I do think that American top tier chocolate and British top tier chocolate are pretty comparable. If you're willing to pay £4 or $4 for a bar of chocolate, then on either side of the pond, that chocolate's going to be pretty comparable in quality. But when we're talking about like Hershey's versus Cadbury, I'm going to go with Cadbury and say Cadbury's way better.
Oh. Huh. Well, I didn't expect it to go in this direction. Cheap chocolate. Somehow I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the cheap chocolate in America is really quite bad. Although they can get away with it because it seems like everyone in America is cool with it and still buys it. And Cadbury just sounds like, from my limited experience, like higher quality. Interesting thought, though. The low quality chocolate is better in the UK. I would never have thought of that.
I agree and disagree with you. I do agree Cadbury is definitely better than Hershey's, but I think that if you're doing top tier chocolates, like expensive chocolates, I would actually say America has better expensive chocolates than the UK.
See, this is the disagreement. So
we have a lot of different like local artisan chocolate shops. Like in Seattle, we have Fran's, and then we also have Theo's, and they produce really, really good chocolate. And
wow, okay, man. I mean, this is kind of the thing, going back with how big America is. Like, I don't have any artisanal, amazing local chocolate shops near me, so I would never have thought about it like, oh, the top tier chocolate in America is the best. But if you just live where she lives, I think she said Seattle, suddenly there's all these amazing local chocolate shops, which totally changes your opinion. So, I don't know. This depends on where you live in America. And obviously, I've never really gotten to compare top-tier chocolate from the UK. Huh. Okay, I just kind of... They're having a split decision on this one, so I get it.
I don't think I've had anything of the same quality in the UK. Sorry. Another brief thing that I'll just mention that I think the UK does better than the USA is style. So I think the level of looking put together is much greater in the UK. So like your average
style?
Yeah,
is what
clothing
we're
style.
about? Okay.
So your average person just walking down the street, they're
Okay, I was wondering, because isn't like Hollywood and celebrities in America, like, they probably think of themselves as these style trendsetters with how they dress and stuff. So having a lot of influence just being in America with the rest of the world and popular culture. But we're kind of talking about the average schmuck, the average person on the street in the UK dresses with a bit more style. I would definitely, man, not to rag on America too much, but hey, that's kind of what we're here to do today. I don't particularly think the style in average American life is... Most people are dressed for comfort, including me. You got people going to the grocery store in their pajamas. So... It's hard to dispute this one. Whenever I see images from the UK, day-to-day life, people do seem like well dressed. Most of what I see probably is like London and stuff though. So I kind of have a limited sample, but I would tend to believe them on this one.
Chances of looking put together and like a functional adult are much higher if they're in the UK than if they're in the USA.
Okay.
Now, are you sure you want to draw that line in the sand? Because we've been to Northampton.
Oh. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Another thing that I think the UK does a lot.
Right. Just like their point there is it depends on where you are in America and in the UK. It depends on where you are and how important fashion is, basically. So, yeah.
Better than the USA is Twitter. And I don't mean the average Joe. I'm talking specifically about corporations and businesses on Twitter. Something that you guys have happen rather regularly over there in the UK is you'll have corporations and businesses tweeting at each other in this really humorous way, carrying on a joke, ribbing each other, taking the piss out of each other in a way that doesn't quite happen as common over here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People really like this. I like this. I like when big companies like do that sort of thing, make tweets, or sometimes they're on TikTok now and all that social media, and they kind of act really casual and even have conversations with other businesses that are very silly and joking. And I really like that. I know at the end of the day it's all just a marketing tactic, honestly, but it is very fun and does make these global huge businesses seem down to earth, like a person just talking on Twitter randomly. So I like this. Yeah, I do like this about businesses in the UK. Okay.
In the US, I think Twitter is much more of a political shitstorm.
And speaking of Twitter, we just got a Twitter account. So here is our handle.
Okay. Is that it?
Pour you some wine. Stop by the comments. Let us know what are some things that you would add to today's video. What are things that you think the UK...
Yeah. I think that's it. Wow. This was good. I gotta say, I really enjoyed this. You know, I went in thinking, things better than the USA. Okay, I'll give it a chance, but some of this stuff actually had me pretty convinced. Not in a bad way. Like, the US is good at some things, and the UK is good at some things, and this video happened to be 25-ish things that the UK is better at. That I thought all had really valid opinions on, like really valid analytical sort of thing. Culture, scones, authors, languages, accents, travel, style, chocolate. I still don't know about the chocolate, but I like this. I like this quite a bit. Are there any interesting comments? I'll take a little peek at the comments. Why not? Not just Irish butter. Butter all over the UK is amazing. Right, like I'd never say butter all over America is amazing. I'd never say that. Oh, by the way, before I forget, this video is by Wandering Ravens, and I have to give it a like. Wandering Ravens, because I really like that. It was a good video. Very thought-provoking as well, and good points. The key to dark humor is that you want to make yourself or someone with power the butt of the joke. Yeah, there's an art to dark humor, for sure, that the UK has mastered. Yeah. I haven't even realized that we have two accents until you pointed it out. I'm glad someone is talking about the two accent thing. I still don't believe it. It's very common for people to put on a posher telephone voice. But sometimes it works the other way around. A very middle-class person might adopt a rougher accent among working-class people to avoid sticking out. Oh, I have heard a little bit about this, that your accent can kind of portray your social status or your class status. So if you're trying to fit in with more posh environment or a rougher environment, you can kind of change your accent to fit in better. So is that kind of what it is? Is that a reason to change your accent a little? Or is it mostly just to be more proper and professional? Is kind of also what I got. It's very interesting. Like, I'm sure Americans do this on some level, where we might talk very casually in conversation, and then in a professional work environment, we might talk like much more precise and eloquent and much more like deliberate. And it will change how you sound. It will change your accent a little. So I guess I do understand it. It just might not be as extreme, or maybe I don't understand it. I don't know. Trying to make sense of this. Two accents. The UK has a slight advantage in culture. I live near a cathedral that was 600 years old when the Declaration of Independence was signed. Exactly. How can we compete with that in America? We have some cool stuff, some cool old stuff, but we're not living by ancient cathedrals and battlegrounds and stuff and ancient castles. We don't have castles. Like, there's just so much culture in the UK that I did have to kind of give the win to that one, just for the amount of time the UK has existed compared to America. Yeah. The professional accent we adopt is called our phone voice. Okay, it's starting to make sense. What else we got here? Scones pronounces scones. Oh yeah, that was a big debate in part 1. Scones versus scones. I agree about the authors. Right, the authors being better from the UK. There's just a lot more prolific, famous authors from the UK. Partly due because the UK has a longer history. Britain has a longer history. You can't argue with it. What else we got here? Oh, when you think that the UK is half the size of one state, the talent in music, literature, films, TV, comedy, education, science is more formidable. Yeah, the size of the UK compared to America is like baffling and wild when you think about it. And that changes so much about travel and other stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's funny to think about. It really is. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I am very content with this. I'm not even mad. I ain't even mad. I learned a lot of things here. 25 things the UK does better than the USA. Very good. I enjoyed it. I learned something. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to UK culture, stuff about the UK I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.